Chairman, I yield now 3 minutes to the gentleman from West Virginia, Mr. Rahal.
The gentleman from West Virginia is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the ranking member of the Energy and Commerce Committee yielding me this time, especially since we do not see eye to eye on this particular piece of legislation. We do see eye to eye on numerous other issues before the Congress and the American people, such as protecting the health and safety of our nation's coal miners and our American workers. And indeed, we all, both sides of the aisle, share the common goal of wanting to provide clean water, clean air, and health and safety for our families each and every day of the year. In that sense, we all have that common ground. There is a fear, though, in the coal fields today, and I really wish the distinguished majority whip on that side of the aisle had mentioned my home state of West Virginia, one of the largest coal-producing states in the country, when he mentioned and was going district by district about the various people that are going to be affected by these proposed regulations. But I do rise in support of H.R. 3826 as a co-sponsor, and I commend my coal country colleague Ed Whitfield for his leadership on this issue and bringing it through his committee. Those of us from the coal-producing regions of this country have truly become sick and tired of this EPA churning out anti-coal regulations while showing little or no appreciation of how these regulations will affect the lives and the livelihoods of the real people who have to work and live under them. Now, granted, some are proposals, but nevertheless, I remind my colleagues, it strikes fear. It strikes fear in the very heart and soul of coal country. And many of our coal companies that are laying off workers as we speak have this fear of what's coming down the pike as a main factor in laying off workers today. Granted, there are many other factors affecting the current slump in the coal fields. I don't deny that for 1 minute. But we have been frustrated with an EPA that has time after time and time again pushed out piles of guidance documents, regulations, using slanted science and inflating claims about the benefits of their regulatory agenda without any consideration, one iota, of the effects upon jobs in the real America that their regulatory agenda means. Last September, when the EPA proposed regulations limiting greenhouse gas emissions for future power plants, it did so hinged upon the promise that the technologies required to achieve the new standards were proven and ready. Based on this claim, we have to question whether this EPA is actually using good, sound science, or if it is picking and choosing science that sounds good to meet whatever ends the agency desires. There are no power plants in commercial service anywhere in the world that have installed and operated the CCS technologies necessary to comply with the proposed rule. None. Nada. The proposed greenhouse gas rule for new power plants may be the mother of all anti-coal. May I have one additional minute?
Yield the gentleman an additional 1 minute.
Gentleman's recognized for an additional minute.
I thank the distinguished ranking member again. The proposed greenhouse gas rule for new power plants may be the mother of all anti-coal regulatory measures so far promoted by this particular EPA. It spells curtains for the development of new coal-fired capacity in this country. And that means decreased energy reliability and increased the cost for American families and businesses. And what's more, the agency readily admits that the new regulations will have nearly zero impact on the emissions of greenhouse gases as economies around the globe continue to grow their use of coal power. That's why this legislation is so important. It would block the EPA from unilaterally imposing these caps, requiring that any such efforts be approved by the Congress, and would help set a course for the development of cutting-edge CCS technologies needed to ensure reliable, affordable coal-fired energy for America throughout the foreseeable future. From those of us from coal country, this legislation is fundamental to preserving the jobs of our coal miners, those who work hard every day going beneath the bowels of this earth to produce the energy that fuels this nation and the economies of our communities, and indeed a national energy security for the United States. I urge support of this legislation.
The gentleman's time's expired. The gentleman from Kentucky.